What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back with another Dorkfish review, and today we are reviewing the Ninja Gaiden Ryu Hayabusa Revoltech. Let's get into it. Alright, and before we get started, a quick overview on the character. Ryu Hayabusa is the main character from the Ninja Gaiden video game series. There is, I believe from my research, technically 2 continuities. And this particular outfit, this particular style, comes from the reboot in the early 2000s, which would go into the Ninja Gaiden Black series, and so on. So, that's where this aesthetic look comes from. It's not the original. I know that Revoltech is going to be releasing an original style look, which I think carried 1 and 2, and then maybe one other game in the original run. But this is the modern look. This is my first Revoltech review. In the past, I didn't particularly care for Revoltech. I wasn't really keen on some of their articulation choices and aesthetic choices. The first time I tried to get into them, apparently I had picked up a figure that wasn't as good as some of their others. And I kind of just judged the whole line based off of that. So this is me giving Revoltech another shot. And I have to say, they nailed it. From the out, I'm super happy with this figure, and I will be getting the original version Ninja Gaiden Ryu when it comes out. But enough talking about that. Let's go ahead and talk about the figure. And we're going to start, as always, with the box and accessories. For the box, we've got a beautiful front. It says Amazing Yamaguchi. Revoltech has all the stickers on the front. Ryu Hayabusa. A nice picture. It is Ninja Gaiden 2. I know I mentioned where the series kicks off, but it is Ninja Gaiden 2 from the reboot. Cool little pose on the back, or on the side, I mean. On the back, you get more accessory picks and stylization picks. A few more on the side here, and that's really all there is to it. So let's get into the accessories. Alright, and for accessories, he does not come with an additional head, so the one that you see on him is his only head sculpt. That's totally fine. He has the fist hands on him in package. And then the piece back here, I just want to show off, which has a ball hinge and pin on it. Can get a little loose, but holds fairly firm once you plug it in right. That cloak piece. For the rest of the accessories, he has a pretty good spread. Hands, he's got this many sets of hands here. So you've got gripping hands for the sword. You've got some ninja style hands. A little more relaxed in combat hands. You've got these here. And if I bring them in, they're very well done. Well sculpted. Very well painted. I really like them. They really nailed the hands on that. Great job. Great spread of hands, I think. He comes with 2 of these shuriken style stars, painted well enough. At least it's not a weird matte gray. It comes with his sheath and sheath holder, which is adjustable, so you can slide it all that you need. You can even peg the sheath out if you need to, and it's pretty well done. He's got his sword, which I think is done very well. The paint is fantastic on it. And then it ports in and out of that sheath extremely easily. Holds good. So you can even do some open sheath style stuff. Looks great. He's got his flight stand, which holds pretty well. We've got this piece here. To be frankly honest, I don't know 100% what this is for. My guess is because it comes with another ball peg that looks like it would fit in the cowl part back there. Maybe the wrist, but I'm pretty sure for the cowl part. So maybe this is like an extractor to help exchange that. I don't really know. As far as the rest of the toy accessories, this weapon, this here is amazing. I love it. It looks great. Well painted, well sculpted. Fantastic there. And then you've got a change of boots and arms that peg in very easily. So these peg obviously where the boots are. It's just a pin that holds them in. Same with the arms here. And while they peg in and out very easy, they hold very well. So you don't have to worry about like really loose joints like it flopping around when you're trying to pose it. They hold great. I think they're painted so well. Great sculpt, great paint. Overall, a really good spread of accessories. Very, very happy with those. And last but not least are these shuriken here, which do peg in and out of the leg. They are well enough done as well. So overall, I think he comes with a great spread of accessories. Very, very well done. So with that, let's transition into his aesthetics. And for aesthetics, overall, I think they did a really good job. Part of the reason I've always struggled with Revoltech stuff is I've never really liked their joint cuts. So like the ball joints in the elbows here, the ball showing there with the gap. I've never really liked those things. That being said, this figure has changed my mind on what they are capable of doing if you forgive those parts and or if you articulate it in a way that kind of hides it in certain shots. So looking at this figure, but all the way around, very well painted. Nothing seems to be missing. Nothing seems to be bleeding wrong or fuzzy. Everything is very well done. You've got your peg ports. So if you want to peg the flight stand directly into him, as well as that back peg port there for his sheath and sword. He looks great. And aesthetically, even when he moves and bends, he's still not bad. Like, that's not bad. That's still covering up that one joint you've got there. But, boom. So you can see there, I like the way that covers. That looks great. So I think they did a really, really good job with being able to cover up musculature in a way that looks organic when you pose it the right way and you position it the right way. The knee is not bad at all. I'm not unhappy with that. As people have probably seen on my channel before, I'm not really a big toe hinge guy, but even that cut there looks really organic. They did a great job with that, so I'm not mad at it at all. Overall, I think aesthetically, the figure, even for what I would normally consider weird cuts, looks great. I am very, very, very stunned by how good this figure turned out, and I think that they nailed it. I believe there was a third-party one that was just released that's more in the vein of like a Mezco or a Marvel Legends. I think it was on 5K Toys, so if I can get a hold of that one, I will do a review, maybe even a comparison between the two. But I will say I do really enjoy this one, so I am okay with it. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to articulation. All right, and for articulation, his head moves pretty well. His neck is on there's this floating cap that goes around the neck, but it moves great. So you can look up that far, which is great. With the head, you can look down about that far. Lines up pretty well aesthetically. And then with the neck, you can look down even further. And back, you've got some side-to-side play. Nice little wobble there. You can turn it, and that neck area turns with it. So it's a floating cap under the head. So it kind of keeps the neck lined up. You've got this ball and pin on a rotator. So you can pull this back pretty far. And it looks pretty seamless. You can pull it forward only about that far. Your arm can go up, I mean, as far as that joint will take you, which is pretty dang far, and then you can flatten it out and it look a little more organic, but you can also play with it a little depending on what you need it to do, and still see that you can get angles that cover it up. That being said, it goes all the way around, no problem. You can see it's a ball joint in there, so it gives you a little more rotation and give. You've got your cut here, so not quite a bicep, but kind of. It rotates fine. You've got your pin and hinge in the arm, so you can not only move here, you get up above 90, which looks great, but you also can rotate at the forearm. Make sure I show that properly, boom. And then you get a regular pin and hinge in the wrist, so it moves fine. You've got the gauntlet here that can be a touch in the way, but it pins and moves just fine. Right quick before I go into torso, let me talk about the part that just fell out, which is this part, the cloak. It's probably the one problem part I have in terms of the joints or anything like that, because it flops out so easy, because it just pegs into this floating neck cap area in the back right there. So it just floats into there, or just pegs into there, I should say, and just floats. So you can articulate it pretty well. It holds very well. You know, you can turn it. It's on a pin and hinge. So it holds well, but you just have to be careful. You got to make sure you're consistently forcing it into this part, because this is rubber and it'll pop out. For your torso, you can bend down pretty dang far. You can go a pretty ways back too on just that top torso piece. A little bit of side to side, not a crazy amount, but more than enough, I think. And you could turn. It's a little stiffer than turning at the hips, but you can turn with it. Now you've got your hip joint, which has kind of this dual plate situation going on, but it is a nice ball joint that pops decent enough back, more than decent forward, really easy side to side with it, and more rotation. So when you mix the two, yeah, he can move really far. There's start to see some gapping there, but he can go really far back and really far crunch forward, and that's not even using the legs. That is fantastic. They nailed that there. This poured it out. That happens quite a bit with those, so just be careful of those. So you can kick out pretty far. Now this leg needs some shock, because the further the kick out goes, you gotta twist the thigh a little bit with it, and this one's a little too stiff, so I'm not gonna force it. But it does kick out. You will get pretty much a full splits. Kick up is pretty good, all things considering. You've got a thigh cut in there, and also the way the ball joint sits, so you can kind of rotate on that ball joint and then your thigh cut, which is nice. You've got a single jointed knee that kicks up that far. I mean, it tucks in really far. It's really well done, and I don't think it's super offensive or ugly, all things considering. You've got your boot cut, which again you can peg out, boom, and that's where you then put the other boot. Your ankle, look at that kick down. The ankle goes pretty far with that covering. It's really nice. And then it goes up far enough, and then you've got your rocker, which rocks quite nicely. And then, like we looked at earlier, your toe hinge, which is good. So articulation-wise, this bad boy has a lot going for him. There are some things with joints you have to twist and move and manipulate to make sure he stands a certain way or to get a certain pose. But once you get him into those poses you're looking for, at the right angle, so there, that looks ugly, but at the right angle, that arm looks fantastic. So that's the thing about him, is you sacrifice some of the looks and aesthetics to get the joints that you get, but when you utilize them properly, he looks immaculate. So I am very happy overall with his articulation and even his aesthetics. There are things that I would have my gripes about, but when you consider why they do those things and how you can be creative with those, it just completely blows the problems out of the water. So I'm very happy with him. I think that they nailed it. Now, that being said, we're going to check out his scaling. All right, and kicking off size comparisons, we have him next to a couple of other video game icons, Ryu from Street Fighters and Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. So it's the Jada Toys next to him on, you'd be watching the left, and McFarlane Scorpion on the right. Next up, we have the G.I. Joe Classified Storm Shadow and the Marvel Legends The Hand Ninja. Much like in the previous comparison where I thought Ryu scaled well, but obviously Scorpion was tall, I don't mind Storm Shadow's scale, but I do think that the Hand Ninja is a bit tall in terms of Ryu in the center there. And last but not least, we have the 2003 TMNT Leonardo by Super 7 and my custom Mezco Shredder built on the Gold Skull body. And I do believe that I like the scale of the 2003 turtle next to him. I think that looks fine. Shredder might be a touch big, so he doesn't quite fully scale with Mezco, but it's not horrible. And it may look in perception that they are kind of off with each other, but the reality is no, they're pretty pretty much so side by side, shoulder to shoulder. So even if I move him just a touch, I mean, the reality is that's the scale. He's a little smaller than maybe he should be, but he isn't grossly small, so I can kind of forgive it. The right kind of shots and the right kind of posing and the right kind of angles will make up for that. He is pretty close to where I want him to be in size. All right, and bringing this review to an end, I think overall this figure is a hit. I have very minimal complaints. And even the things I thought were going to be complaints turned out to be to the benefit of the figure. So this figure alone has completely changed my mind on Revoltech, so much so that I am going to be buying more of their figures to review and collect. So I am very pleased with it. I am curious to know what you think in the comments below. Let me know your favorite iteration, your favorite game, your favorite look for Ninja Gaiden, and what you think of this figure down below. Now, if you're asking yourself, Wolfgang, where would I even go to find a figure like this if you like to hunt in public versus buying online, then I would tell you, if you're in Georgia or passing by, you need to stop at Killer Finds in Hiram, Georgia. That is my one-stop shop for action figures, vinyl records, TCGs, board games, D&D stuff, anything you can think of. Apparel, they've got it. So check them out, give them all the love they deserve. And if you find this figure in the wild, I promise you he's worth picking up. Do it. With that being said, I'm going to bring this review to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone enjoys. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, share the video, and tune in because there's more coming. Wolfgang's out, guys. Later.